Let's get more on tomorrow's highly controversial pro-Palestine march in central London. It'll be the fifth consecutive Saturday in a row that thousands of people have descended on the capital. But tomorrow's event is especially contentious because, of course, it will take place on Armistice Day. The Cenotaph is set to be protected by a round-the-clock police guard, and 2,000 officers from the Met and other UK forces will be shipped in to be on duty across central London for the whole of the Remembrance weekend as part of a major policing operation. Well, to get a veteran's view, I'm joined now by the magnificent Colonel Richard Kemp, a huge fan of yours and a great fan of the show. Colonel Kemp, you've just heard that breaking news line there. The police, the Metropolitan Police, are ramping up security, 2,000 officers, and the breaking line, they said they will arrest anybody they believe to be with a pro-Palestine march or protest in or around the Cenotaph. You wanted these marches banned earlier this week. Are you satisfied with this latest development?
Well, it's better than doing nothing, I suppose. I think the most important thing is to avoid any kind of clashes between these pro-Hamas protesters and those people who are there to pay their respects to men and women who fell in battle fighting exactly that same ideology. So as long as that happens, that's a good thing, of course. But if there's any question, then these people have been marching for 4 weeks now. In support of effectively of a terrorist organisation, and I'm not suggesting there aren't people there who are there out of sympathy for Palestinian civilians. I'm sure there are, but let's get many of these protesters shouting jihad, and they're shouting and chanting from the river to the sea, which means violent terrorism and the elimination of the state of Israel. So if there's any question of prioritization, the police should prioritize the Remembrance events and move away as rapidly and as far as possible anyone who attempts to interfere with it.
And Colonel Kemp, aside from tomorrow's march protest, what's the mood in the veterans community about the past 4 weeks, about the desecration of war memorials, about the march still taking place on this sacred day? What kind of emotions are the Armed Forces veterans telling you about they're experiencing?
Well, I'm in touch with some veterans. I've been out of the country now for the last 4 weeks, but I've still been in touch on social media and other means with some veterans, and there's clearly a great deal of discontent, not only about the potential for clashes with Remembrance events and about intimidation, that we've seen pictures of intimidation of poppy sellers and potentially even an assault on one poppy seller and various other events by pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas supporters. So that's clearly something that they are disgusted by. Many of these people, many veterans, including myself, know and knew a large number of our comrades who fell in battle. And in my case, I've got family members from considerable time ago who also fell in war in the First World War and the Second World War. And so I think, among the veteran community, as well as among the families of the deceased, I think, feelings are particularly strong that these events should not be disrupted or interfered.
Have you heard, I've heard this in Britain, as well as the additional security measures to keep protesters away, rightly so. I think we could all agree that's a good thing. I'd heard rumours of increased security even on veterans going in. They would have to prove that they were somehow affiliated to get close to the Cenotaph themselves. Have you heard anything along those lines?
I haven't heard about that. I think sensible security measures are a wise thing to do, providing it doesn't prevent, whether it's veterans or anyone else who wants to pay their respects on Armistice Day or Remembrance Sunday. But what I have heard, which I think is very disturbing, is that there's advice has been given by at least some regimental headquarters to their veterans who are planning to go to take part in Armistice Day events and Remembrance Sunday events, not to wear their medals, not to wear their regimental regalia and insignia, on the way there. When they get there, put them on, but don't do anything to identify yourself before you go, which is, to my mind, if it's true, and if the reason for it is because of the pro-Hamas protests, then I think that's a really sad indictment on the state of this country today.
Yeah, I think many people would echo that. I mean, I'm just lost for words. I'm lost for words that we've got to a position where men and women who fought for their country are being advised not to wear medals on the way to remembrance services in case it puts them at danger. That's actually happening, is it?
Well, I've certainly seen emails sent to some veterans who are taking part in the official parades to that effect. And of course, many of us remember back to the days of the IRA terrorist campaign when soldiers were advised not to wear their uniforms when they were travelling or when they were off duty because of the terrorist threat to them, which is a reasonable thing to do in that times. But I certainly wasn't aware that anyone's ever been advised not to wear their medals as a veteran or wear insignia when taking part in remembrance. And I don't know what the reason is. It was just stated as being, on the letter I saw, was stated as being, do not wear it until you get actually to the event. So I can only surmise, and as I say, if it is true, then it's a terrible thing to have to tell. I would say to tell veterans who should be proud of their service, and everyone around them should be proud, because these people have fought and in some cases been severely wounded for their countries.
I'm just lost for words. Colonel Richard Kemp, thank you very much for joining us. What do you make of that out there? What do you make of that? Veterans being told not to wear insignia or medals on the way to remembrance in case they're attacked. Where are we? What's happening? What does that say about where we're at? Does that feel like we're surrendering or giving in? I'm really moved by that.